Hello everybody, hope you guys are doing well. So today we will be continuing on a journey in Swift, and we will try to cover as so there are three topics that we need to cover. We will try to cover them, and then we will go on from there. Just let me check if the stream is up and running because sometimes Twitch does not work properly. So let me check that. Okay, so the stream is up and running, and let me check. Okay, so um uh, yeah, so first thing that we use something called as uh, a modifier, right? We'll first check that. uh, so basically we use the modifier called as uh, rendering mode, right? Now rendering, it tells Swift UI how to render images or systems, especially when we are working with SF symbols, right? Now uh, so basically this is how um uh like Swift is going to tell, or the UI, when we, especially when we are using rendering SF symbols, right? Now uh now rendering mode modifier tells Swift UI how to render images or system symbols. So basically um um so rendering mode it basically tells SwiftUI how to render images or system symbols, basically especially when we are using SF, right? Now so there are two major categories. One is template and one is original, right? So they can be classified. So rendering mode can be further classified into two parts. So first is template, and then the other is basically original. Now template is going now change the image with the current foreground color. So what template does is uh, so tints image with current foreground color, and original shows image. Basically this is going to, here we are going to have the original colors coming in. So this is used for full color icons or photos. So this is like, Okay, now so text editor. So the next thing that we have is basically a text editor, right? Now text editor, you can use text editor to provide text input from users, so that goes beyond a line. So now basically now we are going to input views, right? So first is basically text editor. Now if input is more than one line, we use then you use text editor, right? This is a push out view, going to take the entire screen. Yeah, so you can add in formatting. You can give the borders as well. Now currently line limit isn't working, although Apple does mention in the text editor document. I'm guessing uh line. So there is something called as line limit as well. So you can have line limit as well, like how much, when should we go to the next line, right? So you can have line limit as well. uh you can have lines now here. Basically we are going to do multiple line input, right? So you can have something called as line spacing, the space between each lines, right? Then you can customize them. You can give it a background color. Alignment is again yeah, text. Now it's going to come multi-line, right? uh oh, so what if we want okay, this is something cool, I guess. Oh, what if some okay, what if what if we want to open the keyboard, right? So whenever we go to that search box, so this is the search box, and the moment you come to the search box, so there is an icon here, right? So this is going to open up keyboard, right? And then when the button is tapped, so we can do so first time this is going to open the phone keyboard, and second time when we tap, it is going to close this color, is it is going to close this board, right? There is something called as it's UI respond or something. Okay. Now text field. Not text field. Now in order to get or set the text in a text field, you need to bind it to a variable. The variable is passed in the text field initializers. Then all you need to do is change the bound variables text to what the text is in text field, or read the bound variables value to see what the text is. Now this is a okay. So what's the difference between a text editor and a text field? Like even text editor is going to take in text, right? Oh, so if it's a single line, yeah, okay, again. So now text field, right? Next is our suppose if I'm doing a single line input, then we are going to use text field. Now, so basically, only one line is allowed. Only one line is allowed in our text field, and this is like a form text field. Moreover, this was what we have is there is no scrolling here, because so in text editor you have that scroll option you get. So text editor has scrolling. So it has that scrolling feature that comes in. Now the way it is, the way text field is going to work is, we need to do some sort of binding over here. In order to get or set the text, we need to bind it to a variable. So now there is a specific rules to use text, right? To use text field. The first is basically to set or get the text in a text field. We need to bind it. We need to bind it to variable. Now then, once the binding is done, after binding, we are going to pass the variable in the text field. Now this is a push out view, so uh, this is a push out view. And okay, so now the way it is going to work is, yeah, we need to do some sort of binding, right? So should we let's code a little bit so that can close this. We can open a new Xcode. Okay, let's have this thing open. Oh, it's still open. Let's quit Xcode. And then yeah, so instead of, I'll just use this project. Now let's enable the screen. Let's make the screen a little bit shorter. This is, yeah, so let's arrange the screen. Let's have this thing maximized. Oh, Okay. Okay, so let's get back. Yeah, so this is just, let's refresh the uh, let's go to text field. And so the way it is we need some binding, right? So let's bind it. So let's use a state variable, and then okay, now so now this is going to have a label, right, which is coming in. This is text, this text field. And then so now we need to do the binding, right? So the binding is with uh text itself. So yeah, whenever you use it inside, you need to have that dollar symbol. Oh, why do I have... Okay, so right now this is a text field is okay. Let's get rid of this thing, and then see this thing is coming up, right? So let's say this is G1. Yeah, okay. The placeholder or hint. So you can also, okay. Uh, so inside the field, right, you can do the alignment as well. So you can do the, yeah, you can just do multi-line. So it's going to, yeah, that it's going to come to the container, right? Remember, dot leading is, this multi-line text alignment is with respect to the container always. Yeah, so basically this is always inside the container. Okay. Also, before we go to groups, there is something called, so there are three distinct things, right? Uh, okay, firstly, let's see, there's something called as label view, right? Let's see that, and then we will see group and list. Okay. First, there's something called as label view. Now, the problem with text or images, you can combine it with text, right? So text will contain only text, image will only contain image, right? We don't cannot combine these two. So what label does is, so label is basically going to combine the text and icon into a single component. So it's especially useful when you're using list and toolbar. So what we can do is, so label view will help us to combine our our text with image. This is like what label view is enabling us to do. Okay, for example, let's say let's code something. Let's put it above the. So you see, this is one view, or if you would be, or yeah, image name does not have something called this. So there are multiple ways you can do trailing closure syntax as well. Also, there is something called as, if I do label here, okay, there is a trailing closure. This title key, and there is not trailing closure as such. So one more version is, what you can do is using, I'm not going to, I'm not able to search that, using trailing closure. So what you do is, you have in a label, and then you have a text, and then um yeah, so here is the icon, right? So this is for the label, so this, the text has come here, and then, oh, basically you can add in, like, I guess how it is done, and here is the image tag coming in, right? So like this is when so this is like, it's a system. Okay, so what I was, so this is very much easier when you have a text over here and an image, right? So this is can be written directly, but then for our custom layout we can use the trailing syntax. So what it does is, so first is, then you have icon colon, right? It's indicating that this is the icon. So here is where you have the image placed, and then here is the text coming in. And now there is something called as group. Okay, there is a distinguishing feature between group view versus list view, right? What does, I mean, if, also now there is one slight difference, right? There is often we will be using group view, and there is one more view, right, which is basically, so what does list view do is, so it generates a scrollable list, right? Now this scrollable comes automatically, like no need for us to write the scroll view. For example, so if this is my element, right, and I need to generate that list. So if this is a list view, you can have this is my list view basically. This is coming by default. In the group view, what does it do is um there is no styling coming. Oh, so whenever there is group view, okay, so group view is basically, so this is, okay, this is what does it do is it is going to group, but there is no inbuilt style that is going to apply. Like you don't have the scroll or something coming in. Uh, in list view. That is one major difference between scroll and list. And there is okay. Yeah, so when we were using the background modifier, right? So there was something called as ultra thin. Okay, let me check that as well. Also, this is like enabling that. Uh, so it gives a background color. Okay. So now we were using the background modifier, right? So there was something. We were using the background modifier, right? And inside that we were using something called as ultra thin, right? So what does it do is, so um it lets the content behind it partially show through. Okay, and like with a very light blur and low opacity. So this is like, okay. Let me check one thing. Okay, I was saying rendering mode, right? Rendering mode original. Let's see. I wanted to have an image of that. Scale resizable is when we want to change the size, right? By default, that is a pull-in view, na? Let me check an image. What happens with the rendering mode, because the image will give us a very good idea. Oh, I see what's happening. Let me drag this thing here. Let's have the Xcode. Also, uh, let's. Yes, you see. So, okay, it takes back to monochrome, I guess, and it ignores the. Let's see. Let's go to SF. I already had that thing installed, I guess. So if you come here, so by default, it's this monochrome thing, which is there is a multicolor version as well. Okay, for example, weather. So by default, it's going to be. Uh, what if I make it like something like pink or something? So basically, these are options. Uh, so template always gives the monochrome thing, I guess. Okay, so for example, uh, what he's trying to say is, suppose I have this SF, right? Suppose I am using this rule over here. So this is, and then if I do, say if I do a rendering mode, say, and I give this a foreground color, or say right. So the colorful, the heart will be red regardless of its original styling. So once you have this foreground kicking in, this will make this image red. But I think so everything is monochrome. So let's see what does original does. So then we can have multicolor symbols as well. I don't know what is trying to say by multicolor. Also, this emoji thing comes up. Ah, I see what is meaning. So template will apply the whole foreground color to the entire image. You can't have shades or something. Oh, this is a good one. You see this template, this has like a single color. Also, basically, template is for when you need like a uh, this is like foreground color controls entire. If I need a multicolored symbol, then we need to go for original, right? Okay, but then in my project, let's see in one of the okay, I know which view it is. That was the sunrise view. So there is an SF symbol that comes over here. Also, this is by default. We needed the dark blue color. So, okay, where did we use it? Let's open our. Let's close this. Let's close this as well. There was a location where we had. Uh, let's just search for. Yeah, so this was in hourly. Let's refresh the preview. This is. Oh, if I make this template. Uh, let's only have. But then there is a foreground color which is applied, right? So. Also, by default, it's going to be black and white. Now, when I make this original, what's going to happen? And then when I give this a foreground style, I still didn't. Why did we use here? I don't think so that makes sense over here. Yeah, that's what. Isn't it conflicting each other? That, which is oh, so this is a system color, right? So let's go to assets. Let's have in let's create a new folder first. Then let's now define blue over here. Now when you click on this new color set, we need this to be none. And then when you double click on this, okay, it shows show in folder, right? Then the JSON files. Yeah, so now let's go back to the right. Let's get back to our assets and then let's go to colors and let's take this JSON. Double click it, it will open. Uh, Also, yeah, now I guess what he is doing. So that doesn't make sense. You should use. Uh, Also, I guess why he has used that is basically. So now you come back to hourly and then this should be template and then here you should have in a custom. Oh, what's the name? Did I not rename this? I just rename this too. But still your original doesn't make sense. It is something that is. So the original things make sense when you have a multicolored option with a native appearance. By default, it's going to make it monochrome, and it makes sense when you're going to use monochrome and then you're going to apply the color. So that is like an extra thing, but that is not going to harm our code. But that is not needed as well. Okay, so yeah, that's all. for this session. I hope you guys liked it. I will see you guys in another one. uh, till that time, take care, bye bye, and please do subscribe, and we will continue with the projects. That's all for this session. Hope you guys liked it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till that time, take care, bye bye.